Today we're getting back to chords, and in this lesson we're learning 3 more 7th chords to spice up our music. Let's start by copying down these 7th chords on our chord diagram. First, E7. 0, 2, 0, 1, 0, 0. Now A7. This one is just like our A chord, A major and minor, starting from the A string down, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0. And the final one is a new one, B7. This one we're starting from the A string down as well, and it goes 2, 1, 2, 0, 2. Notice how our E7 and A7 are almost identical to E and A major, but only with one finger removed from each shape. One trick that'll help you remember this change, if we look at the E first, is that the finger that we're removing from the shape is always the center one. It's the same thing in A. If we go to A7, we remove the center finger. And if we look at D, this is also the same case. We're not removing it, but we're changing it. We're going back 2 frets, which is what we call a whole step. 2 frets down. To practice changing between the chords, we're going to look at just 2 at a time. First, let's start with E7 and A7, and we'll do this with a metronome. And we'll just do 1 chord per measure. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One trick that'll help you with B7 is to look at the shape for D7. If you remember, we had this triangle shape. Well, it's the same exact thing for B7. Only difference is we're adding our pinky on the high E. This would be a great pattern to practice, just to get that shape down. Now let's do E7 to B7. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's think back to our anchor lesson, whenever we played Sweet Home Alabama. Remember, our ring finger was anchored to the 3rd fret of the B string throughout all 3 chords, D, C9, and G. If we look at our change between E7 and B7, we'll notice it's very, very similar. We anchor our middle finger this time on the 2nd fret of the A. E7, B7. And you can just pivot on that finger between both chords. Finally, let's do A7 to B7. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I suggest practicing these changes as many times as you need. The more you practice them, the more agile your fingers are going to become. Let's put all of this into context. We're going to try a very easy chord progression, which will go like this. E7, A7, back to E7, and B7. Let's practice that now in time with the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Sebastian, so that progression goes E7, A7, E7, B7. But then why are you playing an extra E7 at the end? Well, that's just to bring it back to the very beginning, to give it a more musical context as I practice. More often than not, it's transitions between chords or sections, more so than any fast or difficult technique. That will be the hardest, and make sure you guide your practice with your ear, so that what you hear sounds musical. We can make this more challenging and more fun by adding a busier strumming pattern. For 7th chord, swung patterns are perfect, since they're mostly used in swing, jazz, and blues. Here's the pattern we'll do, just strumming without any chords. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Let's try this slowly, but with the chords now. This pattern is a little bit different than what we learned in our strumming patterns lesson. Remember that in that one we learned to strum down on downbeats 1, 2, 3, 4, and up on the upbeats, all the ands. So on this one we're just doing downstrokes the whole time. If you notice, I'm doing a chuck or a mute between those counts. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So on 2 and 4, I'm muting the strings so I can get ready to do another downstroke. I'm going to play each chord for 2 measures instead of 1 to give us more chances to practice this strumming pattern. Slowly, this is what it would sound like. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 Let's try it a little bit faster, and this time with a metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Probably the most common genre that uses 7th chords is the blues. So let's learn the most common blues progression, which is called a 12-bar blues. 12 bars because it's played across 12 measures. If you think that's a lot and a little bit daunting, as I show you the progression now, try to say the chords out loud after me. The progression goes like this. E7 4 times. E7, 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 E7. That covers our first 4 bars. Next we're going to go to A for 2 bars. A7, A7. And go back to E7 for 2 bars. E7, E7. Takes care of 8 bars so far. The last 4 bars are the ones with the most changes. It goes B7, A7, E7, and B7. If you notice, that B7 kind of sounds like a cliffhanger. It doesn't sound like the song is complete, and that's because it's not. That's called a turnaround. It brings us back to the very beginning of the loop and starts it over. Let's try playing this 12-bar blues now twice. The first time, I'm just going to strum on beat 1. The second time, after the turnaround, I'm going to play our swung pattern, the one that we played on the easy progression. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So here goes with the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. 5, 2, 3, 4. 6, 2, 3, 4. 7, 2, 3, 4. 8, 2, 3, 4. 9, 2, 3, 4. 10, 2, 3, 4. 11, 2, 3, 4. 12, 2, ready, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. One way to spice this up even more is to play different variations of our 7th chords. Remember that most guitars have upwards of 21 frets, so that means you have countless ways of playing the same chord. For example, with A7, I've got all of these different variations that I could play. So let's learn just one more that's going to help us with our bar chords later on. I'm going to take my index finger, and with the bony side of my finger, I'm going to bar across the D, G, B, and E strings. And then I'm going to add my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the high E. Now, if you're having trouble getting that sound, if it sounds buzzy or it has clicks, it might be that you just need to hold your finger a little bit flatter against the fret, or you might be too far back. Remember, you'll get the best tone with the least amount of pressure the higher up and closer you are to that fret wire. Let's try our A7 variation just over the last line of the 12-bar blues. Remember to switch quickly after you strum so that you land on the next chord on time. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now with our strumming pattern. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 I've added the taps to one extra blues trick that you can try. This transition is from the E7 to the B7, and it's called a walk-up. It'll go like this. The way this works, first play 3rd fret of the E, open A, 1st fret of the A, 2nd fret of the A, and with that note we start building our B7. Let's try the progression one last time so you can hear these changes in context. And we'll use both versions of A7 that we learned. The first time we go to it, we'll play the original one. And the second time, after the B7, we'll play our barred A7. 1, 2, ready, go.